Hello my beautiful bookish friends and welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing my November reading wrap up just in my skincare, so please excuse my super shiny skin and my wet hair because I just got out of the shower. But I come up with the best book reviews when I'm in the shower and I have to share them with you. So we're talking about everything I read in November. Books, some are rereads, some aren't. Started it was 21 books. And I did read some that weren't on the TBR, but we'll talk about those. So, starting off, the first book I read was Conceal Don't Feel by Jen Kalanita, who I have learned I do not like her writing style that much. This was actually my lowest rated one. I gave it 2 stars. And that is because I didn't feel like it twisted the story enough. So it's basically the same where Elsa and Anna are separated because of Elsa's powers, except they change it where Anna basically has her memory wiped and lives with a totally different family. So instead of courting Anna, Hans courts Elsa. Other than that, the story is pretty much the same. It just didn't do what I felt like it was supposed to. Yes, the question was answered, like what would it be like if they never met each other, but it didn't really twist the story around in the way I thought it would. I thought they would make, Elsa the villain, like the actual villain, and make her bad and kind of make everyone regret making her feel like a monster when they find out about her ice powers, but felt like it was kind of eh. So next I read 2 graphic novels from Hoopla. So these were ebooks. I read Goldie Vance Volume 2, which I had said when I read the original Goldie Vance that I didn't know if I would continue with the series, but I decided since they're at the library, it's not costing me anything, why not read them? This one was, I will say, a lot better. The mystery was very interesting and very different because it was more about finding out how this astronaut had crashed to Earth. Goldie fights with one of her friends, which I did find the conflict to be a little weak. Like, it did seem very ridiculous. I mean, granted, this whole series, you kind of have to suspend your level of disbelief. With very cute. It's a very good middle grade. I would say it was really nice, easy reading for me. Find out about Goldie's mom, which we didn't find out about last time. We just knew her parents were divorced, and you find out her mom is a professional mermaid, which is really cool to watch, and just their relationship develop. So I do like this series. Like I said, I'm not going to buy it, but I think I gave this one 4 stars. Sorry, make that 3 stars, just because there were a few points, now that I look at my notes, where the plot did get confusing about where they were going and what they were looking for and how that was going to help solve the mystery. So 3 stars for Goldie Vance Volume 2. I started a new series, which is Ghosted in LA, and boy am I happy I did not buy this one. I gave this one 3 stars as well, mainly because the main character was so annoying to me. She's one of those people that if anybody says something to her, like, not even giving her criticism, but just questioning her or saying like, hey, I don't know that you should follow your boyfriend out to LA that you've only been dating for like a short amount of time. It seems like kind of a big leap. And then being like, you're personally attacking me. Moves to, and I can't remember her first name, I'm sorry. She moves to LA, she goes to college, basically stumbles upon this abandoned mansion in LA, goes in and find out it's haunted by all these different ghosts. But I also didn't love the trope that they kind of used of, I wouldn't even call it a trope, but like this kind of really easy resolution as to why her boyfriend breaks up with her like right away when they get to LA. And it's, he doesn't tell her until later, like the reason, and then he gets to the mansion, and it was all very much kind of convenient at times. It's just a lot to consume in a first volume. 3 stars on that one. Not sure I'll keep reading it. I'm not in a rush to read the next one. Next, we have a book I read on audio. I tried to read it physically, but I couldn't get into it physically because there's so much going on. And that is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. So this book is all about the daughters or creations, depending on who they are, of your famous like gothic literature and classic horror movie monsters. A serial killer on the loose, killing women and taking certain body parts. So like there'll be an arm missing, a brain, a heart, a leg, a la Frankenstein. There is like a cat woman, there is a Frankenstein like woman, there's a bunch of people in this basically. There's a nursemaid who comes in at some point, or no, not a nursemaid, a scullery maid, and then the like main caretaker of the house is in this because Mary is poor after her mother dies. She has no money, has to sell everything, finds that, you know, potentially Hyde is not dead and there's a reward for his capture. So Mary basically decides that she is going to try and go find Mr. Hyde. As they go on this adventure, you meet Beatrice, you meet Justine, you meet Catherine, and Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes, and then there is the housemaid, and then Alice, the scullery maid, who comes in at some point. It's a little confusing at times. I definitely could not listen to this on 2 times the speed because I really had to focus and listen in for the characters. And also, it has cutaways. So the way this book is set up is it's supposed to be all of the girls writing it. So Catherine is basically chronicling their adventure. I gave this 3 stars. I'm hoping the next one will be a little bit easier since all the characters have been introduced, and the mystery is just continuing from here because they do not solve it in this one. There is some tomfoolery happening. So then I borrowed another graphic novel from Hoopla, and that was Moonstruck. And this one, I saw the art style and was like, I have to read this. It's so cute. I had heard rave reviews about it. Everyone was like, there's so much representation in it for LGBTQ, but it's also paranormal. So they're like these different creatures, and it's really cute and fun. I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars, mainly because I liked the art style. The characters, some of the characters were okay. The others, I just could not get behind. So they're in this story. We're living in a world where there are paranormal creatures. People are werewolves, they're centaurs, whatever. You know, they all interact with each other and live in this big wide world. And our main character is a werewolf who starts dating a girl who also is a werewolf, but their best friend is a centaur. So they go to this magic show that is just free. They say it sounds like fun. It's a good idea. They go and their centaur friend gets turned into a human. And that basically starts us on this adventure of trying to get their friend's magic back. I just didn't like the way the main character reacted a lot of the time. She was very, just kind of unlikable, in my opinion. Get very angry, and just kept crying like a lot. And I'm just someone personally who, like, even in real life, if people start crying, I don't know what to do about it. This is a series, so it's very possible that it could go further, and I may pick up the second one, but just like Ghosted in LA, I'm in no rush to pick it up. So now we gotta talk about one of my most anticipated books of the year. And I actually picked this up like a couple days after it came out, and I think I talked about it briefly. I don't know if I put it on the TBR or not, but I read it, and that is Kingdom of the Curse by our queen, Carrie Manscalco. First of all, we're jumping back in to where Kingdom of the Wicked left off. So I'll put the disclaimer here. If you have not read Kingdom of the Wicked and you don't want to be spoiled, skip forward. Just skip forward. I will make sure I chapter this one. I know I say that in every one and then I don't. But I will make sure I do it on this one so that nobody gets spoiled. So, if you haven't read Kingdom of the Wicked, please move on. Kingdom of the Curse. So, Amelia is with Wrath. He is taking her to Hell to be presented to Pride, to be Pride's bride, to be the new queen of Hell. We love it. This starts off with such a bang. Like, I mean, boom, we're in it. We're in Hell. They have to go through the sin corridor, which is basically throwing every sin at her at the same time, and she has to fight her emotions. But And I cannot go further than that because I will just start spilling the whole plot of this book. However, she stays with Wrath because Pride has to invite her to his home even though he already made her his bride. And there are so many good twists. There are so many good turns. And there's so much good Wrath and Amelia content. They fight. They want to kill each other, but then they love each other, which we know. I don't want to spoil anyone because at the end, I literally screamed. 5 out of 5, one of the best books of the year, obviously. I just changed directions completely and ended up reading Volume 3, Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Now, this is the third one in the series of Charlie and Nick. So this is a male-male relationship, and they are in high school. We just see their relationship bloom a little bit more. Their class takes a trip to Paris, so it's all fluffy and light. We see them telling their friends, but we also get a deeper look into Charlie and his struggles of how much the bullying has really affected him. And I will say trigger warning for eating disorders in this because they go in depth about Charlie and his anorexia, and just basically how Nick is trying to help him through that, but Nick's own struggles with the homophobia in his family because his brother finds out that he and Charlie are dating, and it just kind of sparks this family feud a little bit. But like I said, this one, I mean, it's not like suspenseful or anything. This one's just cute, and you get so many instances of just what, you know, really good friendships in high school can do for someone, especially if they are struggling with their sexuality, with an eating disorder, with any sort of bullying. I gave this one 5 out of 5. Next up, we got 2 rereads that I actually read earlier this year. First off, we have Bringing Down the Duke, which I re-listened to on audio. I did not tab this one. I didn't feel like I needed to tab these books. This is one of my favorite books of the year, and rereading it just solidified that. So, Bringing Down the Duke, I talked about before. Annabelle is a girl who has basically no money to her name. She's living with her cousin and ends up going to Oxford for school. And because she's going as a woman, she has to become a suffragette. And in doing so, she gets put into this plot of trying to turn the Duke of Montgomery's political opinions so that he will support the suffragette because he has a big pull in Parliament. This is very Bridgerton. If you liked Bridgerton, you'll love these books because it's very much the same. Her reputation was ruined. She had to be sent off to live with her aunt until, like, you know, the what do we want to call it? Till the rumor mill kind of moved on. And then she starts seeing the Duke. I love how the characters develop because it not only questions social norms of the time, but it also shows how female friendship is so important and how, like, strong women, when they come together, can do anything. So once again, I gave it a 5 out of 5, which I did with the first one. And then I re-listened to, because I listened to it on audio, A Rogue of One's Own. And I'm so glad I did. Because the first time, I think I only gave it like 3 stars. This time, definitely a 4-star. This one goes so in depth with Lady Lucy. It's her getting a relationship with Tristan, who is basically kind of, everyone knows he's a player. He was in the military. He got shot. He's had all these great honors. He has this big ego. And we actually meet him during the ball in Bringing Down the Duke. So his dad is a horrible person. He, like, kind of views his mom as like a bargaining chip. I like seeing, we still get Annabelle in this book. All the side characters Bring Down the Duke are in this. So I love that we see the character development go all the way across the books. Like, we're going to see them all again in the 3rd book. We're going to see them all again in the 4th book. So everyone is just getting more dynamic. Their relationships are becoming more important. Evie Dunmore's writing is really good. She just expands on everything she laid out in the 1st book. She went up in rank. I gave it a 4-star. And I'm excited to read A Portrait of a Scotsman. And we have some comics. So I read the New 52 Wonder Woman Guts. I love this. So this is the stuff I read for my 24-hour reading vlog, by the way. These next couple things. I loved this comic. This went so much more in depth. Again, we're in hell because Wonder Woman is kind of fighting Hades in this one. But not like Hades like you would think. Like, he's kind of a child. And I don't know if that's true to mythology, but this series in particular is taking the idea that Diana is of the gods so much deeper. So she is meeting up with other gods that she finds out are her brothers and sisters, and they're gonna fight, and they're gonna take on Hera, because Hera is like mythologically accurate in this, where she's like a schemer and working against Diana. This one just expanded on the other stories so much. Like the first volume leaves you on a cliffhanger, and we pick right back up where it went off. This series feels completely unique to this Wonder Woman storyline. It doesn't feel like it's redoing what has already been done. 5 out of 5. Like, loved it. It was great. Next, I read the deluxe edition of the first edition of Trinity, which is the comic book series where we get Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman all coming together to work together. I believe this is the series where these two end up together at some point. This one came out in like 2003, the original. I think this was printed recently as like an anniversary edition. So we have, I think it's Raja's Ghul is the villain in this, who's like one of the classic villains in the DC universe. Him and Bizarro, Superman, are all together in this, which is great because you get a lot of the classic elements in this one. This one definitely, like I said in the reading vlog, is of the time. It's pretty fresh post 9/11 when you think about it. And because it was only like 2 years after, if not less, depending on when it was published. But there's a point where there's a plane that's going to crash into a skyscraper and Superman saves it. Like, they're fighting in the desert a lot, kind of mimicking the war. So there's some elements of that. So if you're not someone who likes kind of things of that time period that were really 9/11 centric, you probably won't like this. This 4 out of 5. So another one that was not on the TBR shelf, officially anyway, but I wanted to read because right now this book, everyone's talking about it on TikTok, everyone's talking about it on Bookstagram, and I gotta shift positions because we gotta talk about this book because, oh my lord. Okay. The Love Hypothesis. I knew going in, it's an Adam Driver fan fiction. Or, I'm sorry, a Kylo Ren fan fiction. And if that's not abundantly obvious by page 14, I don't know what to tell you. I don't hate books that were formerly fan fiction. I think it's a wonderful thing that people who are just, honestly, talented writers start with fan fiction because it's something they love. However, this was laid on real thick. Other fan fiction I've read, they change the names because I think you have to. In this case, the main character's name is Adam. Lay that out there. And then Olive is the main girl. Now, I think she's supposed to be Daisy Ridley. I think this is supposed to be Kylo Ren and Rey fan fiction. Which I didn't get that it was Daisy Ridley with the main character. With Olive, I just got that she was a girl. Him, on the other hand, there's about 52 instances where they talk about how tall he is. Adam Driver's like 6'6". We get it. He's tall. I know who it's about. We don't need to keep bringing it up. Well, how many times they mention that he's dressed in all black? Like, I get it. It just, I wish they would have changed it a bit more because it did pull me out of the story so many times. Just laughed at some of it. I wanted to say this was a bad book, but it's not. Because beyond that, if you can look over that, this is a great book. It's a great fake dating trope. They both have their reasons. It's fake dating. It's grumpy and sunshine. They're both getting something out of it, but there's great turns. There's kind of this jerky villain. Her reasons for making them be in a fake relationship to me were so convoluted and didn't make any sense. I'm like, you're an adult. you can just tell people, hey, I'm over him, like, you can date him if you want. You don't have to go through all this. Glad you did, though, because it's a great story. 4 stars. If it wasn't pulling me out of the story so much with the descriptions and stuff, 5 out of 5. I'll probably read it again. I'm not going to unhaul it. I'm going to keep it. But I am going to make other people read it so I can laugh at it a little bit. Last 2, I know this is a super long wrap up, but I read 13 books. So, next we have Go the Distance. This is by Jen Kalanita, and it's another Disney Twisted Tale. However, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. This one is actually a twisted tale. This is what if Meg had to become a Greek god. This is basically after Hercules gets back to Olympus and he says, you know, I want to be mortal. I want to go live with Meg, and they let him go. It's the opposite. His parents are like, no, you cannot leave. And Hera makes a deal with Meg so that she can become a god so that she can be with Hercules forever. Much backstory on Meg, and all of it made sense. Every single aspect that was presented, I was like, I could see that. I could see that being her motivation in the movie. I could see why she would want to do that, or even do this to be with Hercules. And it's a great book. I really enjoyed this one. This is probably one of the best twisted tales, and it's actually one of the shortest. For me, this was 4 stars. So, currently I'm listening to House of Gucci because I want to go see the movie, but I want to know, like, the full backstory before I do it. So I'm listening to that on audio, and this one has movie tie-ins. So if you're going to listen to it, this is the one on Hoopla that's like 16 hours long. It's 500 and some pages. That's what I'm listening to currently. But I just finished physically rereading Love Her or Lose Her, which I tabbed. Dominic and Rosie. Second book, it's after Fix Her Up. This is the one where they're already married and they go to marriage counseling because they basically haven't really spoken to each other in years, and they're just having issues within their marriage. So, I read this book before. It made me cry several times. I didn't cry this time, but I think it was because I was preparing. I was prepared this time. I love Dominic so much. Like, there is no, like, that is the standard. That is the blueprint. Follow it. Learn it. It's amazing. I read this in one day last time I read it, and I read it in one day again. But rereading it, you just catch so many more times about how much he loves Rosie and has loved her since 7th grade. Reading it, you realize how much more you actually know that Rosie is part of the reason the marriage is falling apart early on rather than at the end, because like the first time I kind of came to the realization with her. This time reading it, I'm like, oh, you see it throughout the book, but you don't realize it until she realizes it, which is a very smart way of writing, Miss Tessa Bailey. But I gave it a 5 out of 5 again. Overall, November is a pretty good reading month. I'm not really going to rate House of Gucci because it's a nonfiction book, so it's just a lot of like the family history and stuff. But I definitely want to go see the movie. So, we dwindled down the TBR quite a bit back here. There's a lot less books. So yeah, I'm going to keep pushing on. I hope you guys enjoy the end of fall and into winter, and I'll be back to show you guys my very last TBR of the year very soon. Bye.